Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope you all are doing good. So today we are doing the session 2 of the chapter 1. Okay, so we have already completed session 1. If at all you have not seen it, I suggest you to go back and check that first because it has all the introduction part of the computer. Okay, and terms related to computer and there are various definitions which we have discussed already. Let's start today's session. So first, let's see what we are going to complete or what we are going to cover in today's session. First thing is we are going to see a general structure of a motherboard and also components of the motherboard. So today's session is basically going to be all about motherboard. And we will be covering all this. So this video might be a little long, but then I want to complete all of them so that there is a continuity. Okay, so we will cover processor, BIOS, CMOS, slots, disk controller, input output ports and interfaces, and also bus. Okay, so this is a theoretical part. So it is I have tried to add as many images as possible so that you can relate it. So hopefully this is going to be fun. So let's move on. The first thing what we are going to see is the components of the motherboard. Okay, so in this picture you can see this is an introduction. So in this picture you can see what all a motherboard consists of. Okay, a motherboard is a very main circuit chip which is inside the CPU. Now it has ROM, it has something called as a south bridge, north bridge, hard drive slots. It has various slots as you can see. The power connector is attached to the motherboard. It has CPU sockets. It has backup battery, AGP slots, PCI slots. So all this we are going to see in detail. Okay. So as of now, you can have a look at this. This is how a motherboard usually looks like. It will have many ports. It will have many slots, something like this. It is basically a circuit board, which it is basically a circuit board through which all the components of a computer is connected. So here, these are the components of the motherboard. Okay, so it has processor, BIOS, CMOS, slots, disk controller, input/output ports, and interfaces, and also bus. Okay, so before we get into detail about what are these, first let us see what is a general structure of a motherboard. How does a motherboard look and basically what it does. Okay, so as you can see in this picture, there is something called as a north bridge and south bridge. Okay, this is what a core chip of a motherboard consists of. It consists of something called as a north bridge and also south bridge. These are the two chips. Okay, now what does a north bridge chip does? It is connected to your video cards, to your CPU, and also to your RAM, ROM, etc. So basically this north bridge chip which is there, it is fast. Okay, so that is why it is connected to these very important parts of the computer, wherein which you can see the south bridge chip, it is connected to your BIOS, it is connected to your mouse, your keyboard, etc., your hard disk. So what this does is it will connect the rest of the computer parts, wherein which our north bridge is connected to CPU, RAM, and your video cards because it needs high speed, okay, for the computer to perform. So mainly when you see a general structure, you will see there are two chips, which is a north bridge chip and a south bridge chip. Together they form the motherboard's core chip. Clear? So now let us see the components of the motherboard one by one. Okay, as I listed before, the very first one which we see is a processor or a CPU. Now, what is this, a processor or a CPU? Let's see it in detail. Processor or the CPU is also called as the brain of the computer because that is where majority of your operations are performed, your calculations are performed, and data is processed in your CPU. That is why it is called as a brain of the computer. Now, what does it has? It has arithmetic logic unit. As you all know, as the name suggests, arithmetic logic unit does the major operations that has to be performed. Okay, and the control unit controls the data flow and all the other operations performed by the computer. Okay? And the CPU also consists of registers. Registers are the small memory. They are very fast, which is inside the CPU. They store the results or certain important things which are needed by the CPU at that moment while it is doing certain calculations. So it holds those data. Okay, it will not hold permanently, but it holds temporarily during the operation. Okay, as you can see here, there is a CPU and there is a bus. Okay, so buses are nothing but a cable. Okay, these cables are used to transfer data. They are used to transfer addresses, and they are also used to transfer the control signals. Okay, this we are going to see in detail. So CPU communicates via bus with our output devices, with our input devices, with our drivers. Okay. Now, and also this is also this is nothing but primary. I think you are not able to see. This is our primary memory. Okay, is a primary memory. So how does it communicate? It communicates via buses. Okay. So output devices, once it performs operations, it will send the data to the monitor, printer, or something like that. It can be in the form of sound, video, etc. And it takes input from the input devices like keyboard, mouse, scanner, digital camera, etc. This also comes to the buses. Via buses, it comes to the CPU, and also it might want to store it in the secondary devices. That time it will store it in a drives. It can be diskettes, hard disk, optical drives, etc. Okay, and it might want to save it temporarily in the primary memory for the calculation purposes. So it can be these RAM and ROM, or it can also be cache memory. Okay. Now let's see here, the clock speed of a CPU is defined as the frequency with which each processor execute instructions or data that is processed. Here we are talking about the speed of the CPU. Okay, so performance is measured by the number of instructions executed per second. Okay, so how the performance of every CPU is calculated? Obviously, when you're buying a computer, you want with something which is faster, isn't it? How do you know it is faster? It is calculated by instructions executed per second. Now your mega means millions instructions per second. Million instructions per second, wherein which gigahertz means billion instructions per second. Okay, if it is billion instructions, then it is gigahertz. If it's million instruction, megahertz. Okay, so that is how we will see how fast our CPU is. Now, a CPU is fabricated in a single IC, which is also known as the microprocessor. This is also important. To CPU or processor, it is fabricated, or it is designed in a single IC or integrated chip. It is also known as the microprocessor. Okay, so this is all about our CPU. Next, let's move on to the next component of the motherboard, which is BIOS. BIOS is nothing but basic input output system. Okay, so now what does this do? As you can see, I have tried to get an image. So this is like how our BIOS looks like. Okay, you might be wondering, every time you switch on a computer, as soon as the power gets into the computer, how does the operating system gets loaded, isn't it? Now here where the BIOS comes in picture. So here the BIOS holds a set of instructions to load the hardware setting required to boot the devices like keyboard, monitor, or disk drives. And it runs when the computer is switched on. So as soon as you switch on the computer, this BIOS runs, as in the instructions which are there in the BIOS starts immediately executing. And what does it do? It will boot the keyboard, monitor, and disk drives. It's like it wakes up the computer basically. Okay, because when your power is switched off, the computer will be sleeping. And as soon as you switch on, immediately the instructions which are there in the BIOS, it runs. And what are these instructions? It basically activates your keyboards, your mouse, your disks, everything. Okay, and it performs a power on self test, or also called as post. It runs this set of instruction. Okay, this set of instructions is called as power on self test. So as soon as the power is switched on, it does a self set. What it does do, it will check if all the hardwares are connected or if they are functioning properly. Okay, and also it invokes a bootstrap loader to load the operating system into the memory. Now what it does, this BIOS also loads the operating system in the memory. So as soon as you switch on your computer, the operating system starts performing, or it opens and it allows you to do certain tasks. Now all this happens within a very millisecond, microseconds time. Okay, so in that small amount of time, the BIOS does all this. What does it do? As soon as the power is switched on, it will activate your keyboard, your mouse, basically all the peripheral devices. It checks whether they are functioning properly, and also it loads the operating system into the memory. So this is basically the work of BIOS. So this is the second component which you have seen. The first one was the CPU, second one is the BIOS. The next one is CMOS, or complementary metal oxide semiconductor. Okay, now what does this do? This is a memory chip to store the date, time, etc. and the system setup parameters. Now you would have seen, as soon as you switch on, though you have closed your computer yesterday or day before yesterday or 3 days back, still when you switch on, the date, time, everything will be shown correctly. Okay, so initial setting, you should have done it properly. If you have done that, then next time when you open, automatically the date, time, everything will be shown correctly. How does it happen? It is done by your CMOS. Okay, CMOS are kept by CMOS are kept powered by small lithium-ion battery located on the motherboard. Okay, so this is basically used to store the date, time, and system setup. Okay, it stores those details. And how it is charged? CMOS and BIOS both get charged by the small lithium-ion battery. Here you can see this. This is a small lithium-ion battery. You can see here. This one charges your CMOS and your BIOS, because as soon as your power is switched on, these both have to be active and they need to run immediately, start executing immediately. That is the reason there is a separate backup power in the CPU given to these two devices. Okay, so this is the third component which we have seen. Next, let's move on to the fourth one, which is slots. Okay, now you would have seen, whenever you see a motherboard, you can see a lot of openings like this. Now what are these? These are nothing but slots. Okay, slot is an opening in a computer where you can insert printed circuit board. Okay, printed circuit board. They are also called as expansion slots. Okay, now these slots are available in your motherboard. So what you can do, if you want to expand the power of your computer, you might want to add some more RAM or some more processor or some card, some gaming, you want to play a game, so you want to add some additional cards. You can do that using these slots. So these slots are also very important part of the motherboard. Okay, so what are the types of slots are available? Let's just see. First one is an ISA, or industry standard architecture slots. Second one is a PCI, which is peripheral component interconnect slot. The third one is AGP, which is accelerated graphic port slot. Then you have RAM slot, processor slot, PCI Express slot, and PC card. Okay. Here in this image, you can see some of the slots. Like you can see the RAM slot, AGP slot, PCI slot, ISA slots, CMOS batteries here. Okay. So floppy connector, basically all the connectors, slots, ports, everything will be available in the motherboard. So now currently we are seeing slots. Let's see little details about these slots, saying what does they do. So the first one, which is ISA, or industry standard architecture slot, what does it do? Is used to connect the modem. Okay, so ISA slots are, if you want to connect the modem, then you will use ISA slots. So the next one, PCI, peripheral component interconnect slot, are used to connect graphics of sound cards or internal modem and SCSI cards. So if you want, if at all you want to expand your computer and add these cards, then you will have to use the PCI slot. So in that slot, you will insert these cards. Okay. The next one is the AGP or accelerated graphic port slot. AGP slot is meant to provide faster access to graphics accelerator card, thus enhancing the visual experience for the user. So if you want to have a better visual experience, then you will add the accelerated graphic. Okay. You will use accelerated graphic cards. So if you want to have a better visual, if you want to have a better visual experience, then in that case, you will use these accelerated graphic cards, and where you will insert it, you will insert it in these AGP slots. Okay. The RAM slot, as you can understand by the name itself, RAM slot is used to install memory and is of two types. Okay, there are SIMM, that is single inline memory module slot, and DIMM, dual inline memory module slot. These DIMM and SIMM we have seen when we saw the various types of motherboards, isn't it? So here there are the details. See, these are nothing but the RAM slots. Okay, there are two types, which is DIMM and SIMM. So in this slot, what we do, we will insert the RAM. If you want to expand your RAM, then you will do it using this slot. Next is a processor slot. Processor slot is used to insert the processor chip, which is the large chip on the motherboard. It can be identified as the heat sink or a fan is located on the top of it. Okay, so this processor slot is where we will insert or embed our processor in the motherboard. Okay, now how do you differentiate with the other slot and the processor slot? There is always a heat sink or a fan located near the processor. Next one is a PCI expert slot. It has faster bus architecture than AGP and PCI buses. Okay. Now this slot has a faster architecture. The architecture of it is faster than your AGP and PCI, which is these two. Fine. Then we have a PC card. It is used in the laptop computer. It includes Wi-Fi card, network card, and external modem. Okay. Now this one is used in the laptop computers. Okay. So here all these slots will be available depending on your motherboard, and there is no need that you will have to use all of them. Depending on your requirements, you will be using these slots. So let's just move on to the next one. So this was our fourth component of the motherboard, which was slot. Next, we will see the fifth one, which is disk controller. Okay, so this controller. So disk controller, by the name itself, we can understand this is something related to your hard disk or some. It is something related to a hard disk. Okay, so disk controller is a circuit that enables the CPU to communicate with the hard disk, floppy disk, or other kind of disk drives. Very clear that disk controller helps the CPU to communicate with the hard disk, floppy disk, and other kind of drive. Why do you think the CPU would want to communicate? Basically, when CPU is performing certain tasks, if it wants some details to be accessed from the secondary devices, which are like your hard disk, floppy disk, and other kind of disk drives, these are secondary devices, secondary storage devices. If at all CPU wants some information from them, then how does it communicate? It will use these disk controllers. Okay, so as you can see, there are two types of disk controllers. One is hard disk controller, and second one is a floppy disk controller. Okay, by the name itself, it's clear that hard disk controller enables the computer to read and write information from the hard drive, wherein which your floppy disk is nothing but it will communicate. It helps the CPU to communicate with the floppy disk. Now, usually off late we have stopped using floppy disk. Even the CD also people are stopping to use. We use either our pen drive or other external hard disks, right? So floppy looks something like this. Okay, and this is our hard disk. Hard disk looks something like this. So hard disk controller is to communicate with the hard disk. Okay, floppy disk controller is to communicate with the floppy disk. And who communicates? The CPU communicates with them. Okay, so this is about disk controller. This is the fifth part of our motherboard. Next, let's see which is the sixth one. The sixth one is input output ports and interfaces. Okay, So I hope if you have seen the computer behind the CPU, you would have seen something like this, isn't it? There will be many openings, many different types of slots. These are not slots, these are ports. Okay, so we will connect our mouse, our keyboard, and various other power supply, everything in these ports. Now we are going to see them one by one. As you can see, there are 16 types of ports which we can install in our CPU. Okay, mainly most of the time all these 16 will not be available depending on our requirement. Just like our slot, depending on our requirement, we can embed them in our CPU. Okay, let's see them one by one. I've tried to include pictures of these so that it becomes interesting. Okay, so see, the first one is serial port. As you can see, serial port is also called as a communication port. This port transfer data serially one bit at a time. Okay. So what it does, this is a serial port. So if there is a data, it one bit at a time gets transferred via these wires. Okay. There are two varieties of COM ports, the 9-pin ports and 25-pin ports. Okay. So two types you will get, either of 9 pins. As you can see here, there are 9 pins and there are 25-pin ports. Now this is about serial ports. Next one is parallel port. What do you think it will happen? In serial port, data is transferred bit by bit, but in the parallel port, data is transferred parallelly. Okay, parallel ports are used to connect external input-output devices like scanners. This port facilitates the parallel transfer of data, usually 1 byte at a time. So 1 byte as in 8 bits. So you can transfer 8 bit at one shot, wherein which in the serial you can transfer only 1 bit. Okay, so it looks something like this. So the next port is IDE, or Integrated Digital Electronics port. Devices like CD-ROM drives or hard disk drives are connected to the motherboard through IDE port. Okay, so it's clear. So Integrated Digital Electronic port is used to connect what? It is used to connect CD-ROM drives and hard disk, and they look something like this. So next port is USB, Universal Serial Bus port. This is a very common one. You would have seen it everywhere, isn't it? Most of the time we use this. These are used to connect variety of newer peripheral to computer. These divided include printer, scanner, digital camera, web camera, speaker, etc. Nowadays, most of the devices comes with these type of port, isn't it? Even your charger, you can sometimes we charge our phone using these ports, isn't it? So this is the USB port. Next one is a PS2 port. This also you would have seen. We use it to connect keyboard or a mouse to the computer, isn't it? This is called as a PS2 port. Okay. What is the full form of PS? Personal System 2 port. The next port which you're going to see is AGP, or Accelerated Graphics Port. Okay, the AGP port is used to connect graphic card that provide high-speed video performance, typically requiring games and other multimedia applications. Even this you would have seen. Whenever you have a computer, with a normal computer, you cannot. It becomes not that great to play the games. If you really want to play a games, then we would need to additionally install the graphic cards. And how do we do that? We do it using this AGP port. Okay, in these AGP ports, we will install our graphic cards. So the next port is SCSI, that is Small Computer System Interface. This port is used for adding external devices such as high-speed hard disk, high-end scanners, and CD-ROM drives. It does fast data transfer and input-output operations, and these ports are expensive. Okay, so these ports we will use to add additional scanners or CD-ROMs whenever we want the data to be transferred in a faster way. Okay, that is when we will use these type of ports. These are expensive, but which it can be used for both input and output operations. The next port is VGA, that is Visual Graphics Adapter. This connects the monitor to the computer's video card. Okay, it has 15 holes and is similar to serial port connector, but serial port connector has pins. This has holes. Okay, so see the difference here. So with the serial, they look same. The color is same and everything, but there is a difference. Okay, so this is about your visual graphic adapter port. This is a power connector. We would have seen, most of us would have seen, isn't it? It connects the computer power cable and plugs into a power bar on the wall socket. So we will, one side we'll put it in the on the computer, another one we will plug it into the power source. Okay. So this is power connector. This is also important, isn't it? Next one is a FireWire port, okay, which looks something like this. This is used to transfer large amount of data at very fast speed. It is invented by Apple. This is invented by the Apple company. The three variant of FireWire port are 4-pin FireWire 400 connector, 6-pin FireWire 400 connector, and 9-pin FireWire 800 connector. These are the various specification which is available. Basically, they are used to transfer the large amount of data. Okay, so the next port is modem. Okay, connects the PC modem to the telephone network. Telephone network, if at all you have, then if you want to connect that to your system, then you need this port, which is the modem port. And the Ethernet port, it connects network cable to the computer. There is a difference between the Ethernet port and the model port, students, so be careful. Ethernet port connects network cable to the computer. Okay. Game port, connect a PC to a joystick. This is now replaced by USB. Okay, this used to look something like this before, where you can insert, connect your joystick into the computer. But then now those joystick devices, they come in the form of a USB, like we saw. Okay, it comes like a USB. These types are no more required. Next one is a DVI, which is Digital Video Interface port. Connects a flat panel CD monitor to the computer's high-end video graphic cards. Okay, so if you want to add a flat panel LCD monitor to the high-end video graphic cards, then we will use these kind of a ports. This is a port, and this is how the connector looks like. Okay, this is DVI, Digital Video Interface port. Next port is sockets. Now this, where we use very commonly, these are used to connect microphones, speakers to sound card of the computers. You would have seen this, isn't it? And we use also, most of us. These are nothing but these are called as sockets. Next is MIDI, Musical Instrument Digital Interface. So normally these type of instrument thing is used. Either you would have seen the keyboard, electronic musical instruments such as keyboard. They are connected to the system using these type of ports. Okay, so this is the last of our port. So we saw basically all the 16 ports one by one with the picture. I hope it is clear. The last part or the last components of the motherboard, we have seen 6 till now. This is the 7th one, which is bus. Now what is a bus? Okay, it is not the one which we use to travel. This bus is different. A bus is a collection of parallel wires that form a pathway to carry address, data, and control signal. This definition is important. Okay, so see here, we have, understand this diagram. So here we have our CPU, here we have our memory, and here we have our input and output. Now what happens? CPU, when it is performing certain operations, it needs some data, so it will call from the memory, isn't it? So it will take from the memory, and certain operations is being performed, and after that it will give it back to the memory. And input and output operations, certain input we want to give, then we will send it to the memory, isn't it? And certain output we want to display, then we will take it from the memory. So these communication between CPU, memory, input, output device keeps happening. So how does it happen? It happens through our bus. Okay, so this is our bus. Now our bus has control bus. There is different kinds: control bus, address bus, and data bus. What are these? Now data bus carries, as the name specifies, data. Okay, if the CPU is asking for certain data, it is sent from memory to CPU via data bus. Okay, and if the CPU wants a data in a particular address area, then what does CPU do? It will send the address. So it will all the address is transferred via address bus. Okay, so even the input, if it wants, it will send some address saying I want the data from this address. So all these address related things are transferred in the address bus. What does a control bus does? Control bus controls the data flow and other things. The control signals are passed in the control bus. Okay, so basically all these three together form our system bus. So this is the main feature, or this is the main work of a bus. I hope it is clear. So let's move to the, what are the feature of a bus? A bus is a set of wires, and each wire can carry one bit of data. Okay, so there is lot of wires connected, and each wire can carry one bit. Okay, a bus width is defined by number of wires in the bus. So how do we say, if there are 8 wires, then we will say the width of the bus is 8 bit. If there are 32 wires, then we will say the width of the bus is 32 bit. The types of bus are internal bus and external bus. What is an internal bus? Internal bus basically connects the processor, memory, and input output. Okay, wherever there is a data flow or the control signal flow or the address flow happening between the input output devices, memory, and processor, then that is done by the internal bus. This is also called as system bus. This we saw in the image in the previous slide. Okay, next one is the external bus. Now what does this does is, it connects different external devices like peripheral, expansion slot, input output ports. Okay, so basically it communicates other peripheral devices. This is also called as expansion bus. This expansion bus comprises of 3 kinds of buses. So those are data bus, address bus, and control bus. Now what does they do? Data bus provide a path to transfer data between CPU and memory. They provide a path to transfer between CPU and memory. The data bus may consist of 32, 64, 128 lines of wire. The number of lines are referred as the width of the data bus. Like I said, the number of each wire will be carrying a 1 bit. So number of wire, with the number of wire, we can say what is the width of the data bus. The more number of bits we have, the faster the computer, isn't it? So suppose if we have 16-bit data bus, then we can transfer 16 bit at a time. Next one is the address bus. Now address bus connects CPU and RAM with a set of lines of wire similar to the data bus. Okay, so again here also address bus also is connected to the set of lines of wire. Okay, the address bus width determines the maximum number of memory location the computer can address. Okay, so this is important. So if we have 8 number of lines, then we can address only 8. Computer can address, the number of memory location is 8. That is, if it is 8, then the computer can address 2 to the power 8 memory locations. Clear? So address bus also depending upon the number of lines. Next one is a control bus. This control bus is used to control the access to and the use of the data and the address line. Okay, so basically what it does is it is controlling the use of the data and the address lines. So these two are controlled using our control bus. Okay. So this was all about bus, which is the last component of the motherboard. So we have seen today the structure of the motherboard and also all the components of the motherboard. So that's all in today's session, students. So this is the end of the session 2. Hope this has been useful and you have gained some knowledge. So I'll come up with another video for the session 3 where we will complete the chapter 1 entirely. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.